guys, so one of the most crucial strength exercises in gymnastics is the press to handstand. So we're going to break that down into three separate things: flexibility, strength, and the press itself. The first thing we're going to do is flexibility. So most people think a press to handstand is a lot of strength, but it's more technique than anything. And the goal is to make yourself as small as possible and get nice and compressed. In order to do that, we need to really stretch out our hamstrings and our shoulders. So first we're going to start with our hamstrings. We're going to sit down in a pancake. Okay? So you're going to get in a nice straddle. You're going to try to reach out as far as you can, and you're going to hold for 30 seconds. Once you've completed that 30 seconds, to push your dog away. Hands up, pull it up. And then I want you to take a deep breath and try to go down even farther than you did last time. Okay. Then we're going to bring our feet together in a pike, and we're going to do the same thing, grabbing underneath our calves and pulling ourselves forward. Yes. We're going to do that twice to make sure each time we get lower and lower. Okay. The second part is you're going to get 2 chairs or stools, and really any household item, so like detergent that has any weight. You're going to stand up on the chairs and just let it drag you down in between your legs as far as you can go to really create that compressed shape. Yes. Same thing, we're going to try to do 2 sets of 30 seconds when we do that. Okay, and then we're going to get down and we're going to do an elevated cat stretch by trying to make our head go underneath our shoulders. Okay. Once we've done that a few times, we're nice and warm, we're going to move on to the strength portion of the press. Okay. Really, it's a lot of hip strength, so we're going to start with pulses. So we're going to go back in that pancake position. Nice. So we're going to do a small straddle instead of a big one. Keep it in nice and close. We're going to try to do 30 pulses. 30 pulses per leg. So we're going to point our toes nice and tight. Okay. Once you've done one leg, switch to the other. Pulse it up and down. And then we're going to go hands in the middle, circling them backwards. Okay. We're going to try to do 3 sets, 30 on each side. To make it easier, we reach higher up. If we want it to be a little bit more difficult, we reach down. The closer you can get to your ankle, the better. Okay. Next thing after that is we're going to go to our stoops. So a stoop is working on getting your butt up in the air. Okay, so the first thing I would suggest is getting 2 chairs or 2 stools like we had before. And you're trying to hold yourself in a nice pike, swinging your butt up as high as you can and back. Okay, almost trying to hold at the top. I would suggest doing anywhere from 5 to 10 of those at a time for, let's say, 3 sets. Okay. If that's a little easy and you need a little bit more challenge, the next step would be doing the same thing on the ground in either a pike or a straddle, trying to lift up as high as you can and back. So we go. We get our hands down, get a nice straddle, try to lift up as high as you can. Get back. Okay. It's okay if your feet slide on the ground for now, which means we need to work more on those hip and quad strength, or that hip and quad strength, and then get a little bit more flexible on our way up. The next thing we're going to work on are our holds. So we have 2 types of hold. We have vertical hold, and we have horizontal hold and vertical hold. Horizontal hold is holding it on the ground. If the ground is too difficult, we can start in a chair, working on putting our hands between our legs, lifting your legs up as high as you can, trying to hold as high as you can. It's for a straddle or in pike. Our goal would be to hold that anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds. Once that gets better, we can move to the floor, doing the same movement and holding ourselves up. Okay. The next step would be doing our vertical holds. For vertical holds, we need to start on the wall and then slowly progress to just freestanding. There are 3 types of vertical hold: tuck, straddle, and pike. Tuck being the simplest and pike being the most difficult. So what you would do is get yourself a little bit away from the wall, lean, shoulders on, bending the legs and holding halfway up. Okay, that's for your tuck. The straddle and pike would be the same. We're not trying to get all the way to that handstand position. We're letting our legs dangle so we can hold it, or so we can work on our hip strength, holding and lifting ourselves up. Get a nice lean, and then just let my feet hover off the ground. Same thing for the pike. Nice lean, and hold just right off the ground. As we get better, we're going to try to do it freestanding. Freestanding would be, get a nice simple rock, and hold that tuck for as long as you can. 5 to 10 seconds for beginners, getting up to about 30 seconds for more advanced. Okay? And we're trying to do that. And even if you get to your straddle and pike on the ground, and say you're lifting, and it's not holding very long, try to hold as long as you can, but do a couple extra sets of those. Like I said, tuck being the easiest, pike being the hardest. The next thing is for strength would be pike walks. So pike walks have the length of your living room. You're going to put your hands on the ground as close as you can in a small compress, and you're trying to lean towards your fingertips, lifting your feet off the ground and hopping them forward. Now that doesn't mean I'm sliding my feet. I'm actually leaning so far forwards that my feet are coming off the ground, and I'm trying to use my hips to lift them, and then walking the length of the floor. The next thing to work on that compression for the press would be slides. So I like to do all my presses with my socks on, especially since I have wood floor, so I can slide and get as close as I can without any friction. So we would get on the ground in a nice hollow position, a push-up position, and we're trying to slide our toes up and back in either a straddle or a pike down the middle for 3 sets of 10. Okay, and what that's doing is creating compression in our bodies so that way we can lift up to that nice handstand. After we finish with strength, we go to the actual press. Starting out, I want to do wall presses. Same thing with the tuck, straddle, and pike. We're trying to lean up against the wall, lifting our feet all the way up. So we're down, we have our tuck, up to handstand, and down nice and slow. We have our straddle, up and down, and we have our pike. And slow down. The reason we do all 3 of those is knowing mostly that we're going to do the straddle is because the tuck is there as a way to feel that same motion but make it smaller and compressed, make it a little bit simpler so we can do more reps, and the pike being a little bit more difficult so we know that, so we have a feeling of ease whenever we do the straddle. After the wall press, I like to do rock-ups. We're going to start back, and we're not quite jumping, but we're getting a little bit of a lean back, so we're getting a little bit more leverage into the actual press to handstand. So you start, you lean, and push, and still slow lower down your tuck, your straddle, and eventually, if you have the flexibility for it, your pike. After that, we move on to our seal press. So a seal press, just as it sounds, we go into a nice seal stretch. Chest up, arms down. And we slide in as close as we can to our hands. Straddling up and slow lowering down. Which brings us finally to the actual press. So the actual press, we're just going to keep our feet on the ground, one spot, trying to get our big toes as close to our hands as we can before we lift off the ground. Hands down, we get nice and close, pushing forward to our fingertips so our toes aren't necessarily sliding, they're lifting off the ground without us even having to use our muscles. So we're just pushing through our hands, lifting, in, up, and then still slow lowering down. That slow lower down is important because it works the negative effect on the hip muscles, keeping that control. Because if you can do it down, you can also do it up. Okay. Once you get through that, then you get, especially I would say try it on a carpet because the wood floor is a little bit harder. You can start adding in your stalder roll and your actual press. Stalder roll, meaning you start up in a candlestick, you come down, importantly lifting your feet up off the ground, not just letting them slam, and then going into a press. And finally your actual press where you start in a full straddle and lift all the way up. Alright guys, this has been my tutorial on presses. I hope you comment in with how far you guys are getting. I hope you guys are staying safe and staying healthy.